Radio Chingalo so that we may be one through the cross. Good afternoon with the menus. My name is Sarah Tamina. Kindly be informed that we're also streaming live on our Radio Chingalo Facebook page, and you can also listen to us via Radio Garden. The headlines: some houses in Indola's Kanyanja ward collapse. Parents promise to monitor their school-going children amid COVID-19. Mines warned by Green Economy and Environment Minister. And now the news in detail. Some houses in Indola's Kanyanja ward have collapsed while others have been flooded following the heavy rains being experienced in some parts of the country. Kanyanja ward councillor Fides Lumbwe has confirmed to Radio Chinglu News in Indola. Councillor Lumbwe said the flooding was as a result of poor drainage system. The civic leader has since asked government to intervene and help the ward by constructing proper drainage system.
Of course, we need rain, but on the other hand, because Kanyanja has no drainages, so you find that all the water coming from Kwazua to Pamodi over to King, because these areas are on a higher land than Kanyanja, are just moving, coming through to Kanyanja, and this has resulted in many houses collapsing, many houses getting flooded with this rain. So we really approve for urgent help so that the drainages can be done, so that the water can have proper drainages where they can come.
Kanyanja ward is a new ward under Chifu constituency. United Party for National Development, UPND Copperbelt chairperson Elisha Matambo, has disclosed that former Kalilushi Mayor Rashida Mlenga worked hard in the district for President Hakainde Hichilema to obtain massive votes during the August 12 general elections. Mr. Matambo said despite Ms. Mlenga standing as an independent candidate during last year's general elections, she was campaigning for President Hakainde Hichilema. Speaking at Umulu when he received defectors who included Ms. Mlenga, some former councillors and NDC officials, Mr. Matambo said Rashida was joining the UPND to add value to the party, looking at the support she commands in Kalilushi district. And speaking at the same event, Ms. Mlenga said she was joining the UPND because of its sound policies meant to uplift the living standards of the people. Schools in the country have opened for the first time today, with parents promising to monitor their children amid COVID-19. Some parents talked to in Quito Central Business District, CBD, said children should adhere to health guidelines even when they leave home going to school. They also said that schools should ensure that there is social distance among pupils as they begin learning.
Ora namba wampera wamweba wamukonkomisa tikusukulu ko wakula kola Christmas balondolola kungana ma 5 golden rules yadaine balanda bakutwala omwana kusukulu bafulingira kwata maski na hand sanitizer na smoke atankana n'abanangu social distance kwebene kona tusire tuleichingirira kabidi urori okukwishira feni mpanga yose tusire twakonka okusaka filafile batweba nokutarukana.
Meanwhile, a check at various schools in Quito revealed that compliance levels against COVID-19 among learners was quite low, as Justina Matandiko Mukoka reports.
A check at Valley View and Langelo A found that both schools were seemingly compliant, as they had hand washing points, though few. As for the learners, some were must, while others were not. And at Bulangilo B, there was only one hand washing point located outside the head teacher's office. Learners were found running around carefree and unmasked. Meanwhile, at the private run Riverside School, the case was different, as learners were found masked and observing social distance. Colin Sinyangwe, the head teacher of Riverside School, told Radio Ichengelo News that teachers talk about the need to observe the 5 golden rules before each lesson.
Our teachers are encouraged to have a talk with the learners concerning the 5 golden rules of COVID-19. Not only one teacher, but all the teachers. So before a lesson, you first have to give them COVID guidelines. When it comes to checking out temperature, no, we're not checking their temperature. But when it comes to washing their hands and sanitizing,
international regulators such as the World Health Organization, WHO, recommend that vaccination remains priority in the battle against the virus. It is eminent upon school authorities to comply with preventive measures. For Radio Ichengelo News, I'm Justina Matandiko Mukoka.
Thank you, Justina, for that report. In a related development, Chingula District Commissioner Raphael Chimupi has advised education authorities to continue reminding pupils on the need to observe stipulated measures against COVID-19. Speaking to Radio Ichengelo News in Chingula, Mr. Chimupi said the move was vital in preventing the further spread of the virus in schools. Meanwhile, a check at Nakatindi and Chingula secondary schools by Radio Ichengelo News Crew this morning found school authorities encouraging pupils to be washing their hands and masking up regularly. Lubengele Catholic Community Primary School in Chilawombo is grappling with an inadequate number of toilets. School head teacher Mwenya Tandeo Muwanga said the institution has 2 toilets for girls and 1 for boys to cater for over 700 pupils. Mr. Muwanga is now calling for the construction of more ablution blocks and a wall fence to enhance security at the school. And former Chilawombo Deputy Mayor Gift Vinkumbo donated face masks and sanitary towels to the school today.
And in the way that you have done, please try giving others to encourage you. That's how it should be. Because the young ones are the future leaders, not only in education, in different spheres. So whatever you do, will really go a long way.
And former Chilawombo District Commissioner Roy Ngosi said the donation was aimed at supplementing government efforts in creating a conducive environment for learners. Mr. Ngosi has also pledged to assist the school with other learning materials through well-wishers.
It's not only the government to do things, but even us as people of the community, we have to be there to know. That's why we decided to come to your school today. Said, think, yes, we take some few things. Like our young girls, some they don't even manage to buy a card. So it's sort of organizing some cards, just few for the beginning.
Gift Vinkumbo, who is former Chilawombo Deputy Mayor, underscored the importance of education.
We feel that there are challenges that we should have worked on. And since we're still here, we have to work on them. And there are no politics attached. This is based on humanism. And we know there are many other challenges apart from those that you have mentioned. When our young boy came to the car, he was talking about our children not going further in studies because of maybe lack of books, lack of things, and so forth.
Green Economy and Environment Minister Collins Nzovu and streams. Speaking in Ndola today when paying a courtesy call on Copperbelt Permanent Secretary Augustine Kasongo, as it begins the tour of the province, Mr. Nzovu said the ministry is concerned with the continued pollution of water bodies by mines on the Copper Belt. He said government plans to strengthen Zambia Environmental Management Agency ZEMA Act in a bid to curb pollution. Mr. Nzovu also spoke against deforestation, saying it is contributing to climate change. And Mr. Kasongo asked the Minister of Green Economy and Environment to help resolve issues surrounding land allocation in forest reserves on the Copper Belt.
You may be aware that the is empowered to monitor these activities, but we have been also with human resources, with the budget support, as well as equipment to ensure that our environment is no longer polluted. So through this, I would advise the various entities, the many entities and other industries to start cleaning up, because we are coming with a vast program to inspect.
This news broadcast comes to you in the community service of Radio Chendu with compliments of Moose Milling. And now international news is monitored from the BBC.
President Roch Kabore of Burkina Faso has been detained a day after soldiers mutinied at several army bases. The army is expected to issue a statement shortly. Anne Soy has the latest.
Shooting was heard overnight near the presidential palace in the capital, Ouagadougou, and a helicopter was seen cycling overhead. It is understood that the president is being held at a military camp. The presidential fleet of armored vehicles could be seen riddled with bullets. Gunfire first rang out in several military barracks on Sunday amid reports of a mutiny. The government then denied that a coup was underway and declared a nighttime curfew. The national television station is reportedly surrounded by soldiers, but it remains on air.
NATO has announced it's sending additional ships and fighter jets to member states in Eastern Europe as a response to a continuing build-up of Russian forces near Ukraine. It's also putting forces on standby. After Russia annexed Crimea in 2014, NATO increased its presence in eastern member states. Britain's Foreign Office says it's withdrawing some staff and dependents from its embassy in Ukraine in response to what it said was the growing threat from Russia. It follows a similar decision by the US State Department. Here's James Landale.
Russia denies it plans to invade Ukraine, but it continues to mass forces along the border, and Western powers are beginning to fear the worst. The Foreign Office has decided to start the process of drawing down its staff at the UK Embassy in Kiev. Officials said the decision was not the result of specific intelligence targeting British diplomats. Instead, it was a response to the growing risk of a Russian incursion and the potential risk to diplomats. It's expected that about half the staff working at the embassy will return to the UK with their families. Separately, the State Department ordered the families of all American diplomats to leave Ukraine and authorized the voluntary departure of non-essential staff. It also advised all US citizens to consider leaving the country.
A Pakistani female judge, Aisha Malik, has been sworn in as a Supreme Court justice, the first woman in the country's history to reach the top court. A large number of judicial officials and lawyers attended the ceremony in Islamabad. The Pakistani minister described Ms. Malik's appointment as a landmark elevation. Lawyers and activists say it's a rare victory after decades of struggle to get representation for women in Pakistan's male-dominated society.
As we end our main news bulletin, we take a look at some of the stories making headlines again. Some houses in Indola's Kanyenjo ward collapse. Parents promise to monitor their school-going children amid COVID-19. Mines warned by Green Economy and Environment Minister. Friends, for these and more stories, do remember to visit the Radio Chingalo website, www.radiochingalo.org. You can also remember to like our Radio Chingalo Facebook page. Remember to also play a part in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic by adhering to safety guidelines as applied by the Ministry of Health and the World Health Organization. Wear a mask when in public. Avoid large groups and maintain social distance. Avoid unnecessary movements. Wash your hands frequently for at least 20 seconds. Also remember to cover your cough or sneeze with a flexed elbow, handkerchief, or tissue. On behalf of the entire newsroom and Constance Kalunga, the sound technician on duty, my name is Sarah Tamina. Thank you so much and have a blessed Monday.